The small antechamber of the courthouse smelled of dust and old wood. I was standing in my simple white dress, waiting for the judge to call our names. Marcus, my fiancé, was pacing near the thick oak door, his movements tight and anxious. He thought I couldn't hear him, but the phone signal was weak, and his voice was a furious hiss. She signed it. The inheritance is secured for me. I needed her to marry me to finalize the transfer before she realized the clause about marital assets meant I own her family's land. The words slammed into me, hard and cold. My family's last precious piece of land, the place I grew up, gone, stolen by the man I was about to promise forever to. What the hell just happened to her? My name is Eliza Hayes. I am 28 years old, and in that moment, I realized the love I thought I had found was a meticulously planned financial heist. Marcus wasn't marrying me. He was performing a hostile takeover of my life. He was a narcissist who saw me only as a vessel for my inheritance from my grandmother. The paper I had signed, the prenuptial agreement he'd insisted was standard, was the legal weapon he needed, and he was seconds away from pulling the trigger by getting that final signature on the marriage certificate. My vision tunneled. The white silk of my dress felt like a straitjacket. I had to stop the marriage, but if I caused a scene, Marcus would shame me, gaslight me, and possibly use my emotional breakdown as another legal tool against me. I needed a clean exit. My eyes darted wildly around the room. That's when I saw him, a tall man in a dark, expensive suit, standing near the opposite wall, patiently waiting. He was handsome, with a kind, serious face. A complete stranger. Marcus was still spitting vicious demands into the phone to his sister and accomplice, Vivian, our shared accountant. I moved. Fast. I crossed the small room in 3 silent steps, grabbed the stranger's arm, and squeezed it hard. He looked at me, startled, his eyes wide with confusion. I leaned in close, my voice a desperate, urgent whisper that only he could hear. Get me out of here. Now. And don't look back. I didn't wait for his answer. I pulled him toward the back hallway and bolted. The stranger, whose name I didn't know, stumbled but kept pace, his long legs matching my desperate stride. We burst out of the back exit and into the humid city air. Marcus's furious voice was already echoing in the antechamber behind us. I'll call you back, Vivian. That idiot judge is calling our names. He was oblivious. We ran down the steps and onto the busy street. The stranger pulled me into the sanctuary of a passing yellow taxi. As the cab pulled away, I glanced back. Marcus stood at the courthouse steps, utterly confused, his wedding suit rumpled, staring at the empty street. The driver, looking at my wedding dress and the frantic man beside me, asked, "Where to, folks?" I looked at my accidental rescuer. "Anywhere far from here," I gasped, clutching the pearl necklace my grandmother had given me. The stranger finally spoke, his voice calm despite the situation. "Take us to the nearest downtown legal library, please. Fast." The man introduced himself in the cab. His name was Miles. He was, conveniently, an attorney specializing in corporate property law, exactly the type of expertise Marcus had tried to weaponize against me. I explained everything in hurried, emotional fragments. The inheritance, the ancestral land, the seemingly innocent prenuptial clause about marital assets. Miles listened carefully, his brow furrowed. "That's financial fraud, not just heartbreak, Eliza," Miles stated, tapping his finger on his temple. "Marcus needed you to be legally married for 1 minute to trigger a specific clause regarding the inheritance trust. By running, you denied him the last signature. That prenup is now just a useless piece of paper. For now." He explained that Marcus would immediately try to use my escape to frame me as unstable and unfit to manage my own funds. Miles drove me to his apartment, a simple, clean place far from the chaos. I stayed there, safe, while he began to quietly gather intel. He immediately drafted a cease and desist letter to Marcus's firm, warning them against any transfer attempts on my ancestral property. We needed to hit Marcus where it hurt, his precious career. Marcus was up for partnership at his prestigious firm, Reynolds and Stone. Marcus's retaliation was swift and toxic. He called my mother, claiming I had suffered a psychotic break, and abandoned him at the altar, suggesting I was mentally unfit to handle my grandmother's multi-million-dollar estate. He tried to gaslight the entire family, painting himself as the victim. My mother, who had always been slightly intimidated by Marcus's wealth, was deeply worried. I decided to strike back legally first. Miles helped me initiate a small, carefully worded lawsuit against Marcus, not for a divorce, since we never married, but for fraudulent misrepresentation regarding the prenuptial agreement. The goal wasn't to win the money yet, but to expose the existence of the lawsuit to his firm right before his critical partnership review meeting. The lawsuit went public on the legal docket. The timing was crucial. The Reynolds and Stone partners were meeting on Friday to vote on Marcus's promotion. A public fraud lawsuit, regardless of its truth, was the smell of blood in the water for a high-stakes firm. Marcus would have to divert all his energy to minimizing the damage. Vivian, Marcus's sister and co-conspirator, called me. She was hysterical. "You've ruined him. The partners are furious about the lawsuit. You need to drop it, or he will come after you with everything he has, Eliza." Her true motivation wasn't family loyalty, but the fear of losing the commissions she stood to gain from the illegal asset transfer. I kept my voice icy calm. "Tell Marcus to send me a certified letter withdrawing all claims on my grandmother's land, or I will subpoena the entire internal accounting ledger of his sister, Vivian Vance." I knew Vivian's ledgers would show the trail of company funds Marcus had been using to pay for their shared, illegal maneuvers. Marcus, panicking, sent me a nasty, threatening email instead of the certified letter. He demanded that I sign a mutual non-disclosure agreement, offering me a paltry $10,000 to disappear and keep the prenup quiet. He still thought he could buy me off, underestimating the depth of my rage and the value of my family's legacy. Miles and I went to the firm that handled my grandmother's estate, Smith and Sons. We secured a temporary restraining order on the land, ensuring Marcus couldn't touch it even if he somehow found a legal loophole. The lawyer there, Mr. Smith, looked at the prenup's predatory clause and confirmed, "This was designed by someone who knows exactly how to exploit the law." "It's disgusting." The partnership meeting arrived. I was hundreds of miles away, but Miles was watching the legal news feed. Marcus was called into the partner's office. The conversation was surely tense and hostile. The lawsuit I filed was a huge, career-ending red flag in a profession built on trust. That evening, the news broke. Marcus was denied the partnership. The official reason was failure to uphold the firm's ethical standards under minor scrutiny. The failure wasn't the lawsuit itself, but his inability to manage the crisis without demonstrating deceit and poor judgment. His arrogance had cost him his professional future. Vivian was next. Miles, leveraging the fraud lawsuit, successfully filed a complaint with the State Board of Accountancy regarding her highly irregular accounting practices related to the prenuptial agreement. The pressure immediately mounted on her, threatening her license and career. Marcus, now broke, jobless and desperate, came looking for me. He tracked me down to Miles's apartment building. He must have followed Miles. He found me in the lobby, carrying groceries. He cornered me, his face pale and contorted. "Eliza, I can fix this. We can still get married. I'll just sign a new prenup." I looked at the man who had tried to steal my life and felt nothing but cold pity. I spoke softly, my voice steel. "You're late, Marcus. I didn't just escape with a stranger that day. I left with a corporate law expert. The man you're about to fight in court. You are currently being investigated for fraud by the state bar, Marcus." I didn't let him respond. Miles stepped out of the elevator just then, seeing Marcus cornering me. Miles didn't even speak. He just stared at Marcus with the calm, powerful expression of a predator who has cornered his prey. Marcus, seeing Miles, suddenly realized the full scope of my plan and the identity of the stranger. He turned and fled the building without another word. The final legal blow came from the state bar. Marcus was officially suspended from practicing law, pending a full investigation into the fraudulent misrepresentation in the prenuptial agreement. His entire, expensive, carefully constructed life was in ruins, not because of a grand scheme, but because of one moment of greedy arrogance in a courthouse hallway. I withdrew the civil fraud lawsuit. I didn't need the money. I had secured my family's land and my freedom. The goal was justice, not profit. My moral victory was absolute. I focused on rebuilding my life, getting back to my career, and protecting my family's land. Miles and I never did get married, but we built something far stronger, a foundation of mutual respect and trust. He became my closest friend and legal advisor, the man who saw my desperation and chose to help. He taught me the power of strategic calm over emotional chaos. I stood on the rolling green hill of my ancestral land, the land Marcus had tried to steal. The air was clean, the sun was warm, and the only paperwork I held was the renewed deed in my name. Marcus was gone, stripped of his career and his credibility, facing disbarment. I had walked away from the altar and into a new life of genuine worth, proving that sometimes the best revenge is simply denying the thief the treasure he thought he'd already taken. If you made it to the end, you understand, respect is non-negotiable. My worth wasn't defined by the ring on my finger or the land Marcus tried to steal. My story proves that leaving an altar can be the ultimate power move. He thought that prenup made him untouchable. If this resonated with you, if you've been gaslit into accepting less, share it. Tell them, your escape doesn't make you weak. Your boundaries don't make you difficult. Hit that subscribe button to join me in turning heartbreak into legal triumph. Marcus lost his career because he thought greed was smarter than honesty. Your worth was only ever waiting to be remembered. Have you ever had to prove your worth to a family that underestimated you? Share your story in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe.